Hello viewers, Flash Motorsport here and welcome to Laguna Seca. Now in this video we're going to have a look at the dynamic weather and the weirdness that happens when the dynamic weather changes during a race. I quite enjoy the dynamic weather. It provides a new strategy for when you are racing. Now something like this track now, we're starting off on medium tyres. The track is dry, but during the course of the track it will get wet. I have clicked start button. I wanted to start at the back of the pack, like right down the pack, and work my way up and see where I end up at the finish. Now everybody is just passing me. I should be ready, and that's about it really. Yeah, that's everybody. Let's go. So first corner already. 1, 2 off track. What? Yep, it's 1. Just gonna make it there. 2. Yep, that's 2 out of the woods. Oh, 3. Didn't see the third one. Come up to our next corner, dab on the brakes. 4, 5 off the track. Yeah, it's I've already made a few places by the first corner. 6 off the track, I think. That link was off. That's quite surprising already, with 6 people. But as we're coming down here, you want to keep on your right hand side, looking out for the 200 marker. Braking down to third gear, about 75 miles an hour through here. Now Kaka goes into the back of the Honda. Give the Honda a little more of a nudge, because there's nowhere I could go aside going on the lawn. And you probably get a penalty for it. Kaka, for some reason, decides that my door was much nicer looking at and grinds all the way along it. And then puts a comment up saying good race. It must be really good that you've grinded into the side of 2 people, took 1 off track, and then go off track right now yourself. That's coming down to this next corner. This is where, oh, nearly takes another person out and then hits me on the side again. As we're coming down to the next corner, this is where the weather changes quite abruptly. There it is. There's a total tonal shift right there. And then it starts getting lighter again. It's that, and I think, wow, that is quite abrupt. But as the weather is coming down, I'm going to make my early move and go straight into the pits. I don't want to be any more a party of all that carnage, although it was quite fun. And get my wet tyres on and basically try and see if I can benefit from that, because it won't be the first time I've gone, oh, do you know what, I'm just going to wait 1 more lap. And it will hammered it down, so that second part of the lap was absolutely horrendous. But at least I get the pit crew all to myself in this one. Oh, no, maybe not. Someone else came in. I wasn't the only one. Coming out of the other side of the pits, the rain is getting a little bit heavier. It's not enough really to justify wet tyres right now. I think the tyres are going to get a little bit warm, so I've got to be mindful of that and try and take it easy. It is dribbling, but it's like I say, it's not enough to keep wet tyres cool as you're going around the track, because you've got to try and get the track saturated. On a point of getting the track saturated, I did find a weird thing. I don't know if anybody else has noticed it, but when it starts raining, the track also gets wet quite quickly. So the rain hasn't really had long enough to fall to saturate the track, but the track is already saturated by the minute amount of rain falling. If you have a look at the sky now, the lighting of the clouds is going to change abruptly again. Now, see what I mean? It's little things like that you notice, and it's changed a little bit then again. As you can see, it's raining a lot heavier now. It's quite cool that the fact it's raining heavier at this part of the track and not the other part of the track as I was coming towards it. Then again, the lighting change might have also done that. Not too sure. Has anybody else ever noticed that one part of the track is wetter than another part of the track? Or the rain is heavier in one part of the track, so like the weather is rolling in rather than a switch being pushed, as you saw when the clouds started rolling in. Somebody forgot to press the button, pressed it, and the lighting totally changed. As you can see, I was quite sensible for changing my tyres, because there's a few people off the track. So that's a good call to make, and actually quite a lucky call, I like to add. But everybody else is off track, so now I can start capitalising on people being off track whilst trying to stay on the track myself. The rain is quite intense and aquaplaning is quite prevalent, because the water is saturated on the track. People haven't gone round the track yet to thus move the water away from different sections of the track. Coming past now, we're now in P9 position, and you see how much darker it's suddenly got again. Someone forgot to press that switch. Anyway, as we're coming around here in a sopping wet track, looking out on your left hand side for the curb to start, braking at the 100 board or just before the 100 board, down with the brakes in third gear, let it coast around and try and stay on the tarmac better than I did. Come around here, let off, let it coast around, rub that in the curb. Don't rub the inner curb when it's wet, because it is quite slippery, but that's what you would normally take in the dry. Coming back out on the other side, on your right hand side, looking out for the 200 marker, braking down to third gear, clip this in the curb, rub it inwards, and then start accelerating out the other side of the hill we go. As we get a little bit darker then, come under the bridge on your right hand side, look out for the 200 marker, dab of the brakes, over the curb we go, and I go a little bit wide. Now, I don't get a penalty for this, thankfully, so there's a little bit of saving grace, but Old Boy Gamer 1 in P1 position, who is massively ahead. It's probably because they started off on wet tyres, I presume. It's got a 4.1 second penalty. That's quite a bit. Like I say, the penalty system at the moment to me doesn't mean anything. I get penalties for being a pixel over, and I don't get penalties for going right over like I did just there. So to me, it's all over the shop. And like many of you have said, and I've also seen on a lot of pages, that the collision system is totally off as well with regarding the penalties. Where if you collide into someone, you don't get penalised, but the person you collided into is the one that gets penalised. But I have no idea what on earth is going on there. So to me, the penalty system is a little bit off. I mean, I got demoted down to A rating. I think I'm back up to S again now. I'm not too sure. But that was due to off-track penalties and the odd collision warnings I've had a few times as well. Ouch. There you go. See, I could get a penalty for that one, but luckily enough, I don't. And I get a hit by the Gulf behind as well. So luckily enough, no penalty. Come around the next corner, down in third gear, and then coming a little bit wider. I don't have the best angle coming through that corner. I proper messed it up. Keep it to your right hand side, looking out for the 200 marker, braking down into third gear. Then it coasts around and accelerating up the hill we go. It looks like it's getting a little bit lighter now, so the rain might start settling out. The track is quite saturated, so we have to be mindful of that. But the wet tyres are starting to come into their own a little bit now. They're starting to grip a little bit more as more cars are moving the water around the track and creating a little bit of dry spots as the cars are going through. Down to second gear, going a little bit too deep down, a little bit too much on the inside. But coming around in third gear, letting it off, and then trying to clip that inner sausage, but I just grazed the inner curb, which is pretty good because the camera of the road does benefit you there. And then braking again and trying to clip the inner sausage as well on that side. Going a little bit wide, and there is another dramatic weather change right there. Cool, blimey. It's like the cloud just like jumped out the way, you know. It's really weird, and it's getting a little bit darker again now. So I'm not too sure, but it looks like it's drying off. I can't grumble at that. Tyres are still in very good condition. So the issue when the track gets dry or drier and it stops raining, your tyres don't have the cold water or any water to keep them cool, so they are prone to degrading much faster. So as the track is wet as it is now, we're on our final lap. Luckily enough, we're not going to overheat our tyres because wet tyres can really be cooked very quickly. And someone's been collecting furniture. And there was another weird weather change. Was that a bit of fog coming in or a bit of sun haze coming down? Not too sure, but it's getting much brighter. Let's hope they don't put the temperature up and dry this track out too quickly. As we come up the hill, we're trying to catch up to Zeta Rose, which is 2 seconds ahead. So looking on your right hand side for the 200 marker, dab with the brakes, clipping it in the apex, and coming up the hill we go. As we're coming up the hill, you want to look over to your right hand side, get into the brow of this hill, and just before you hit the brow, dab on the brakes, down to second gear, and rub through the corkscrew. As we're going through the corkscrew, can either, like I just did there, had minimal wheel spin surprisingly, so I didn't dive into third gear, but if you do find your car slipping, it might be worth chucking into third gear, reduce that wheel spin. Braking again in third gear, rubbing that in the curb. I could have gone through a little bit quicker, but I was a bit more on the cautious side, wanting to finish the race. Braking at the 200 marker, rubbing this in the curb in left hand side, accelerating just after you've hit that curb, and out the other side we go, and we're going to cross the line in 6th position. So in total we have made 14 places up. We started off in P19 and worked our way up, and we finished in P5. If you're enjoying what you've seen here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And I'd just like to take a moment here to thank our channel member, Andy Good Guitar. Thank you for your support. On to the next race at Suzuka. As we are at Silverstone, I decided again to go for medium tyres. It did say it was going to rain, but it really does look quite dry, and it was raining during practice, so I was unsure whether I would benefit from going straight to wet tyres. And again, I did start pretty much at the back of the pack. I started so far back I didn't bother in pressing start to push myself back to more places, But I nearly did get put back 2 more places because the Peugeot behind me decided that I look better sideways. I think they just wanted to read a label on my door to make sure I am who I am. I can't blame them really. Coming through these next 2 corners, you're looking at about 80 miles per hour in 3rd gear, letting it coast around, come back over to right hand side and bringing it back over to your left about 75 miles an hour. Dabbing the brakes through here, yeah, I'm not too sure. They dabbed on the brakes, another car's gone off track, and we made a few places. Catching up to the car in front, Bratislava 6869. Coming around here about 60 miles an hour. As soon as the second entrance of the pit is there, start accelerating on the other side. Another car meets the wall, and we're going to try and make a move on the car in front. Now I get a bit nervous with cars in front that are doing things like that. You notice in this race there's a fair few incidences where a car will be a bit twitchy, and I'm not too sure what's going on, whether it's a bit of latency. But as you can see there, we was all a bit clumsy, and 1 minute the car's in front, next minute I'm up behind it. You know, it's a bit weird. So like I say, it must be a bit of latency issues going on wherever the server is. Luckily enough, we don't get a penalty for it though. The last thing you want to do is have a car that's got like that in front, is a bit twitchy, a bit all over the shop, and then hitting you. And bearing in mind, you've not changed position. As far as you knew, they were, let's say, on the left hand side, and you go into the back of them or whatever, and then you get a penalty for it. That's like a double punch in the gut, really. But I go off track. I've got a little bit thummy. I'm trying to watch what the car in front's doing, you see, and I'm getting a bit unsure where their placement's going to be. So I'm just trying to avoid them in general and just totally bin it. Coming up to the next part of the track, you can see you're looking out for the 100 marker. Just after it is a drive. There it is, braking down the 4th gear. The weather is now changing. So luckily enough, this track is relatively short. So we're going to have to pit at the end of this lap just out of cautiousness. I'd rather stick a wet set of tyres on and see if it works or not than trying to last it on medium tyres again. It's like running on ice. It just can't be done. Some people do try, but good for them. That's all I can say. You see the Audi to my left hand side is a bit all twitchy and a bit all over the place. So we are colliding again some more. There's the first marker of the weather change, and I get a warning for avoidable contact. Like, how can I avoid a car that's forgot or is rebooted inside the Matrix? Like, you know, I'm not too sure how they managed to work that one out, but other cars are still going around. So they are either on wet tyres, which is quite a brave move really, because we've done a few laps in the dry. Those wet tyres will be quite punished already. So whether they will last it to the end of the race, I do not know. But as we are going through the pits, we are inside the Audi. I hope they don't mind. And my car actually looks pretty good with those red marks on it. But funny enough, I pull away quicker than the Audi coming out of the pits. So we have got the lead over the Audi in P15 place. As we're coming through here, I'm going to brake a little bit earlier. The wet tyres are going to be a bit unresponsive to start with. The track is not wet enough to justify them just yet. I'm more planning ahead. So, like I say, wet tyres are roughly on par with mediums. Maybe a little bit weaker when the track is dry or damp like this. It's because the track's not wet enough to keep the tyres cool, so they are prone to getting hot. And when the tyres get hot, that's when you start losing grip. You can hear the tyres skidding, and that's the last thing you want. There's another weather change or a light change. You see it's getting a lot lighter all of a sudden. The sun must be coming out, and I'm going to feel like a right numpty if it stops raining. And we've just gone into the pits. That person's struggling to get into the pits. Oh dear, that poor person. It must be so, like, it just won't go in. Oh, it's starting to rain a bit more now. Looking out for the 100 marker, just after it is a curb, and then you start braking, and I massively overcook it by a good mile. Luckily enough, I don't get a penalty for it. But we're coming through here. Now you can see where the dry spot is. The wet parts of the track on the outer part of the track, and there is quite a clear line of where is dry. And you want to try and stay on that dry bit. Try and stay off the curbs, because when it's wet, the curbs are quite slippy. So, although I am rubbing them like a goose, because, you know, you just get used to how you do a track, and you try and adjust yourself to a wet standard. It's yeah, sometimes your hands and your brain just aren't connected, and that's usually my kind of luck. Coming around here, as soon as the second pit entrance is, start accelerating, and over the finish line, well, start and finish line we go again. setting quite a good lap time of a 57.583, which is not too bad. Somebody else should just come out of the pit straight across in front and move back over to the right, luckily enough. And this is my own fault. I went in on them rather than giving them the room. And luckily enough, no harm, no foul. They don't get a penalty, I don't get a penalty. And like I say, that's my own mistake. The Honda, on the other hand, is having their own mistake. Not too sure what that's about. Probably still on medium tyres, or if they were on wet tyres, they might be goosed. We're on lap 6 now. And this track, although short, does eat through your tyres because how fast you are going through the corners. And there's a lot of corners, a lot of left, right, left, right, left, right. And the weight of the vehicle does massively eat through the tyres. Again, as we come over the start and finish line, we are looking at setting maybe the same time. Well, no, we're 3 seconds faster again. So what's that? We're going to be a 58. Split -3, okay. Yeah, I'm not too sure what that's about. Oh yeah, well, probably because they're dirty laps, that's probably why. Anyway, coming around here, looking out, 3rd gear, coming back over to your right hand side, braking, and then rubbing it over to your left, using as much of the track as you can, because this through part is pretty straight, so you can really try and keep the car straight as you can and more of abuse the track limits because it's quite forgiving. This corner here is not so forgiving, so just take your time, come around this corner and just power on gently to the outside, and then coming through here. Now, like I say, coming through this second to last corner here, you've got to be mindful not to cut the track too much. It's quite easily done. Coming around, accelerating out the other side, and again over the start finish line. Now it's really coming down, the weather's really changing. It's getting a lot darker, so it must be what, like a thunderstorm kind of deal. Nobody has umbrellas in the crowd, so you know, they're brave people, brave people. Probably never got told it was going to rain, never thought about bringing the umbrella out of the car. Braking down to 3rd gear, coming around this corner, and then start accelerating out the other side. Trying to catch up to P7 position here. We've only got 2 laps to do it in, 2.7 seconds away. Now, if their tyres are not as worn, then I might not be able to catch up here. 2.4 seconds away. P1 is multitudes up and down away. I'm not too sure what that's about. It seems to be having, whether they're brake testing somebody or not, I don't know. Anyway, there's another MG in front, 2 green MGs, so hopefully them two will start battling, slow themselves down, and I can catch up. 2.1 seconds away now from P7 position, so we only have 1 lap to do to sit in. It's going to be a challenge. It is doable, but they've got to mess up. Obviously that's what everybody's hoping for. Braking down to 4th gear, rubbing it in the curb, braking some more down to 3rd gear. As you can see, the MG on the outside has made a little mess up there. 1.2 seconds away now, so I've gained a second on them. 0.8. I wonder if their tyres are pretty much goosed. I just need to make that move them now, and the problem is going through these curves, everybody's maximising the track. So I'm going to see if I can take the outer line here. It's going to be slower, but I'll have the inside line of the next corner. By the sounds of it, there we are in the mirror, I did get that move done. Their tyres must be pretty much goosed. I'm not going to catch up to P6, but we do finish off in P7, which is absolutely brilliant overall, and I go off track. Yeah, I got a penalty for it as well. How embarrassing. The last part of the track, a 0.4 second penalty. Oh dear me. Anyway, if you enjoyed what you're watching, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to join the Discord channel. The link is in the description. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.